In the grim darkness of the present moment, there is only war, ignorance, and enlightenment. With the future of national food security in question from Starmer's war on farmers in the UK, and people's suggestions for public health reforms including free energy drinks and mandatory euthanasia, the key components for the slippery slope to Soylent Green production appear to be setting in. And having just received notice of possession where I live and work, now was the time to finally get a job and put this whole attempt to turn my hobby into a full-time business on the back burner before they put me on the conveyors. Sorry, I mean it's time to finish this Necromunda gaming board. Hi, I'm Tom. People call me Mad Cat. Welcome to the channel of the Mini Mad Cat. This is part 2 of what is planned as a 3-parter. In this second installment, we'll apply hazard stripes to the ground floor, do the first layer of weathering on the butchery floor, paint a few of the details like the door and vault control panels, and then put them both together finally. I'll be talking about what's going on in my life in relation to the channel, live streaming, the space we've been working out of, and plans for the future. Finishing this board is difficult because this project is the culmination of what feels like so many things. Frankly, unfortunately, finishing it will both require and force the exorcism of some festering demons I'm harbouring. As someone who, like so many, suffer more than a little from the ADHD and also the TISM, big tasks on their final stretch and multifaceted matters render me a little scattered at times. I'm also dealing with task overload at the moment and a lifetime of struggling with organisation. So just starting on the finishing touches feels like climbing a mountain. And with the notice of possession for where I live and operate out of arriving last Friday a little out of the blue, having only just gotten my room optimal for work and living in, less than a month from having settled so much extra stuff into the living space downstairs and making it finally quite cosy here, I've got to move out. Sod's law. Well, it adds a great element to the story, doesn't it? If I can get myself together and land somewhere much better, somewhere I can fit myself and my business in without compromise, I'll be much happier. So, ironically, I do have a little mountain to climb and overcome in the next, well, less than 2 months. But before I get to climb a mountain tomorrow, I must reach this mountain's zenith today. And I could go through every little bit of what I did since the last video to get it where it is now, but I'm just going to go through a mental checklist, show you the footage of each bit, try to make it look fancy and talk about stuff whilst we go. With task overload, my usual approach is to do the thing that's going to take the least amount of time to do and set my order of priority accordingly, thus reducing the task list as rapidly as possible. In this case, with the big gaming board project, it's hard to see how it fits that bill, especially with the looming threat of homelessness on the horizon. However, much like the subject of the Fallout Wasteland Warfare video, the sheer size of the project and its impact on my life by just sitting there incomplete forces my hand when it comes to my usual approach to marking off tasks by time requirements. The board, when I'm not working on it, has sat in a space that's actually integral to my usual content production, my fabricated light box. And whilst this needs tearing down in the next month or so, I still hope and intend to operate out of here up until the last moment, so it needs freeing up. Back in 2024, things never really got going properly for me. I'd been kind of sticking my head in the sand over on Twitch and just moving forward blindly. 2024 was one hell of a year. A hell of a year. I was working on a script for a year in a review video around the same time I was working on this script and doing this work on the board. I'd established a reasonably healthy routine and a schedule on Twitch. One of the ongoing issues I've been working with is struggling with my living space and workspace being one and the same. Creating a separation of these two spaces, or failing to, as I should say, led to a sort of inherent disorganization. To counteract that, in most of my past employment, I practiced practical organisation combined with pleasing aesthetic simplicity. I'd organise my personal desk space, bar section, stock room, kitchen, wherever I was working out of first. I remember once spending almost the entirety of my first day when settling into a new office job, just getting everything I needed around me in the right way. I even organised my paper clips into 3 different sizes and into separate little containers. All of this initial setup would lead to reaching peak efficiency as quickly as possible. In trying to create a functioning business here, I never really did that. So I'd never had to adapt my bedroom into a bedroom, office, studio, stock and display room all rolled into one before. And I just kind of winged it. I never really addressed it with a fresh perspective because with my head in the sand, I didn't even realise what was going on. The daily disruptions, interruptions and distractions, the psychic splash damage of a disorganised workspace spilling over into the space for falling asleep and rising from slumber. It's going to be good to get out of here, find somewhere more suitable, fingers crossed. And there's a few more things I could have done to this space to optimise it. More shelving, boom arm for my soft light box, a mount for my awkwardly placed kitchen towel dispenser. Of course, no point in that now. I sank into debt more than once without at least a part-time job to assist, and despite having what many might consider all the time, it was all the time in the world, I'd not even managed to put a video up on here on YouTube once a week, to my shame. Ultimately, the lack of organisation and being split on where to invest my time and efforts led to a sort of vampiric effect on my enthusiasm, and without that wholehearted certainty of oneself and the direction you're heading in life, things can become a little rudderless. So what demons am I exercising in completing this project? It's the demon of past dreams. It's the project I didn't finish in time for that Army and Battlefield Painter interview. It's the demon of missed games because I was going to use it as the base of operations for my gang in a GW Necromunda staff narrative campaign. It's the demon of social anxiety, built up out of bad habits left from lockdown, because once it's done, I'll not be able to ignore my desire to get out and game on it. It's the demon of the imposter syndrome-driven anxiety over the fact that once it's done, the promise Rob the Honest Wargamer and I made to each other to play a game of Necromunda on it will become more real, and I'll have to shake that imposter syndrome off once and for all. I'm sure Rob's game, analysis paralysis over personal insecurities, are the root of my imposter syndrome, and it's stopped me even starting. I just need to send him a message. Anyway. I started writing this script before I got started on all these bits as a way to egg myself on. I came back to it after my recent break enforced by my father's passing, and it's safe to say once I started, beside the occasionally awkward bits of filming and extra awkward bits of painting because I'd put the 2 parts together too early, and the only way to get to it was through putting my arm between the top and bottom floor. It was a breeze otherwise, and all those negative things I'm connecting to the project kind of fade away as I seek that flow state. Whilst there are numerous things to do, and this certainly wasn't the simplest or quickest task I could have chosen to mark off my list, with it done, its past demons named. By name they are known, by knowing they are understood. Through understanding they can be defeated. And hopefully, with a few of those pesky spirits off my shoulder, the rest of this project task list will appear less of a problem, a less insurmountable mountain. It's basically done. I'm calling it done. It's ready for games. I'm still going to drill holes in the wall for it to hang for a few weeks, as I always intended it to, despite the fact that it'll be more holes I'll have to fill in a few weeks. I don't care, it feels like it has to happen, it needs to be out of the light box, and it will just be a good sense of achievement when it's up there. And it'll be part of our backdrop for now, for as long as we're here, and for wherever we hopefully end up in the future. Useful for taking pictures of finished grimdark sci-fi models in, and hopefully some amazing games of Necromunda, Stargrave, and mini-gangs. In the third and final part, we'll apply the final bits of weathering, add in more details to fill the area, ladders to the pillars for access to the first floor, create meaty bits and corpse piles, and do the resin pour on all the vats. We might be adding butchery tables and characters, although I did think to turn it into a diorama for a competition or something. What do you think? Let me know, comments down below, all of your thoughts, for that would be super appreciated. Bit of a thing to wake up to or go to bed potentially thinking of once it's hanging on the wall. I'm sure wherever I find myself in a few months, I'll decide on a much more sensible position for it. And I hope in time it'll stand as a testament to where things in this our current timeline could have gone, but didn't. If the government get a hold of food production, then I think Soylent Green would end up looking like manna from heaven before too long, sorry to say. There's actually meant to be a farmers' protest in London today on the day of the upload, if I understand correctly, and I feel kind of guilty for not being there and standing with the farmers myself. I've personally been thinking of a move out to the country with a barn, bread and board agreement that would be quite well suited to me. Working out in the fields or out in the pens during the day and painting miniatures by night and streaming and producing videos on the weekend or something. Either way, to afford the move, I'll have to either get some regular work, sell one of my armies, or get a successful GoFundMe campaign started or something. Maybe more on that in the future if I can get myself together on it. Anyway, man, I can't wait to roll some dice on that thing. I can't wait. Thanks for watching the Mini Mad Cat channel. I'm your host, Tom. Big love. Like the content? Please consider joining the Patreon to access hundreds of hours of streams, outtakes, and more. Click like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and leave a comment down below. All the links are in the show notes. And remember, to question everything and have fun.